Welcome into the show. This is Jono.
And this is Micah, and you're listening to Medium Retro.
Micah, Thomas. We did it.
We did it? What did we do?
Well,
it is done. It is accomplished. Congratulations. How's it going?
I mean, the fact that we did it, I feel accomplished.
Yeah, me too. I'm still not sure what it is, but whatever it is done.
It is done, and we did it. And welcome into the show, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. This is our end of the year show. This will be the last show in 2020. Probably, inarguably, the best year of all time.
Sure. Let's just go with that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just such a good year.
Yeah,
that was my Donald Trump, and he would say it's a good year because he's a dummy, but
this is the year that Donald Trump could not get away from losing, so that's pretty good for me.
You're fired.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did it, man. We made it through 2020. We started the show in 2020, and to celebrate, we wanted to do our top games of 2020.
Yeah, so this is going to be 5 games that we liked the most that we played through for the first time in 2020.
Yes, they don't have to be new. They don't have to be old. These are just any games as long as we completed them in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, and we really appreciate everybody out there listening in, whether you're sitting by a fire on a tiger rug with a glass of Chianti, or if you are in California smoking some dope. I don't know. What did they say back in the day? What do old people say when they talk about...
Smoking some reefer by the seaside.
Are you smoking reefer by the seaside? Well, we appreciate you listening in today. This is Medium Retro, your weekly dose of retro gaming goodness. We have a Patreon going on at mediumretro.com, or you can just search for us on Patreon. And of course, leaving us reviews is very helpful.
Indeed, you do. Now, we also have a Twitch and Twitter at Medium Retro, Instagram at Medium Retro Podcast. We all are also on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
So go follow us on there. Slap some comments, give us your likes, subscribe. For now, it is just going to be an image of our logo with the audio, but, expect some weird hijinks in the near future.
Yes, 2021 will have hijinks. And I mean, let's be honest, if you YouTube, we'll tube you.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I've never said that in my life, but I feel like it's been hanging out there.
Dude, it's been needing to be said for a long time. I'm glad you put it into words.
Yes. Yeah.
They got to know, man. They got to know.
Did the word dope, when people say, like, oh, that's dope, did it come from the phrase smoking dope?
I don't know. I would actually argue that most likely the two came to mean this similar thing, But that being said, I don't know.
Well,
good question.
If you're smoking dope out there, that's cool.
Yeah, dude, high five.
High five. Mike, are you ready for a beverage for people of 21 years of age and older?
I am not only ready, I am anticipating said beverage.
Well, you bought this one, much like our last episode. So, tell us about it. I'm gonna crack mine if you want to hear this.
So listen, Christmas may be over for you listener out there, but Christmas is never really over if you have Christmas ale. We're currently drinking, or about to begin drinking, Breckenridge Brewery's Christmas ale since 1993.
Very exciting.
Yeah, it just looks very holiday festive. Bought it with a couple other delicious looking beers too, and I'm stoked to try this personally. Don't really know what to expect. It might just simply be an ale with a Christmas theme on the label, but I'm excited to taste and let you, the listener, know what you're missing.
Yeah, and I'm gonna guess. So in Ohio, where I grew up, we had Great Lakes Brewery out of Cleveland, Ohio, and they had Christmas ale, and it was huge. I mean, it would sell out. People would buy it by the many, many cases at once. They would stock up their car. It was a big deal, and it had a lot of clove flavor, some sweetness to it. Very, very tasty beer. I'm guessing it's gonna have a similar vibe. I think that's the Christmas ale vibe these days.
Well, cheers. That or no, I'm looking forward to it. Cheers, Jono. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
New Year. It's very different than the Great Lakes Christmas Ale.
Yes.
That almost tastes more like an Irish ale.
This tastes like an Irish ale. It almost tastes like just a thick lager.
Yeah.
It's dark, malty. You get some caramel in there. for sure.
Yeah. These type of beers, I know this is going to sound weird. I've said this to many people before, and everybody says I'm a fucking weirdo. Irish ales and some like darker lagers, they have almost like a V8 vegetable juice flavor to them.
You know, you said this before, and I don't pick up on it, but it just probably means that you have a more dynamic flavor tasting ability than I do.
Or the opposite. My taste buds, I've burned them off or something, and I'm tasting vegetables in my beer.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, tasty, delicious. I'll have one. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It is not what I was expecting, though.
Mm.
Not very sweet at all. You think you see some sweetness?
There's a little sweetness. It's not terribly sweet though. It's more dark, roasty, malty, and with like the implications of sweet without the sweet really being there. That makes any sense at all?
No, that makes sense because I just took another taste here.
Molasses. I taste molasses.
It's that kind of sweetness. You know, the Christmas ale I was expecting was more in your face sweetness,
Mhm.
and doesn't have that. It's good though. Also, we had just drank a peanut butter and chocolate infused beer from Denver Beer Co. or Left Hand,
Left hand.
and that was quite sweet. And so maybe that's why this seems.
I'm just
tame.
saying though, that might be the happy hour beer of choice.
Ooh,
Possibly.
yeah, that was very, very good. I don't
Indeed.
think I can do another 9%er. And let's be honest, Micah, this show is sure to be fun because there's been some drinking happening this afternoon.
Yeah.
One of my friends, sad to see him go, is moving out of Denver. One of my earliest friends that I made, new friends that I made when I moved to Denver. Very sad to see him go. And in between recording episodes here, we kind of had a little get together, socially distanced. Outdoors. It's 20 degrees and snowing, and we stood around for 20 minutes and just shot the shit. And
You know what? More
Saturday
power to you guys
buzz.
keeping to the rules, you know?
yeah, we did our best. All wore our masks and
Hell yeah.
stood in a big circle and
High fives.
stared each other in the eyes while we jerked off.
Nice.
I almost didn't say it. I was thinking, don't say it, and then it just came out of my mouth. I said it.
Well, that sounds like a really beautiful, momentous occasion that you guys all shared together.
If you haven't done that, then you don't know love.
Well, apparently I don't know love, so, you know.
Well,
Oh, well.
you know that's why we have the show, Micah. We try to teach each other things.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about you and about life, you know.
Yeah, there we go. This is sure to be the 2020 episode everybody wanted.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this is the end to a crazy year. This isn't the end to our first year of doing this project.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we got to end it on a high note and a low note, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the low note? I don't know what you're saying.
I don't know, just like low and dirty, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, low brow.
Low brow. All right, I gotcha. That went over my head, Micah, but I wouldn't say mentally in peak form at this exact moment.
Well, that's perfect.
But I'm very excited. I'm at peak excitement level
Hell yeah.
in my brain and my pants. Let's get this show going. All right. Opening segment today is Games from the Crypt. One of our favorites, I would say.
Yeah. You know, I cannot remember what I said for the first one. Do you remember what I told you for the first one?
You know, I have a magical way of looking that up, Micah, if you bear with me here.
I think that I just overlooked the document that we actually, so to keep from repeating ourselves, we keep a document that lists everything we said and done. And for whatever reason today, I was trying to look over that document. I just could not find any information just because I think I was looking on my phone. And it was like formatted weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's definitely not a great document by phone.
No, it's pretty good. You know, it's a good little spreadsheet. But yeah, what was it that you said last time, and what did I say last time?
Okay, so we've done this segment twice.
Okay.
The first one was episode 8,
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo's Oddball Paraphernalia, back in the OG, like, original days.
Yeah, dude.
And I chose Wayne Gretzky Hockey, and you chose Jet Moto.
Oh, yes. Still stand behind that.
Yes. Our second one was on episode 17, and that was Power Stone is what I chose.
Such a good choice.
And this was the Pokemon episode, and you chose Donkey Kong, the arcade.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Getting back to the old school roots.
This is perfect because I'm going to go even more old school, for me anyway,
Oh, man.
on my answer. But do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first on the answer to what would you like to bring back?
I'll go first.
Hell yeah.
I'll go first. I don't want sloppy seconds. I'm sorry. I'm taking this show off the rails, Micah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go first. I chose The Legend of Dragoon.
Ooh.
Yes, do you know of it?
Yes. So I always get this mixed up with the other one, which was something Dragoon, something.
Panzer Dragoon.
Yes.
And I'm guessing this came to mind when I put this together because we recorded a week ago or however long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this same conversation came up. You got Panzer Dragoon and Legend of Dragoon confused. Panzer Dragoon was on Sega Saturn. It's like a game where you ride a dragon and you're flying. The Legend of Dragoon was Sony's internal development team, one of their teams, I forget which one, but it was their response to Final Fantasy VII, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to get into the 3D RPG space. And there are similar elements. I've never played the entirety of Final Fantasy VII, but I know some of the story bits that happen. Legend of Dragoon tried to mimic some of those story bits that were shocking and exciting and things like that. I don't want to say too much because I know you haven't played either game. I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, Legend of Dragoon. Turn-based RPG. Very cool characters, very cool world. And the combat was awesome. Basically, this is a PlayStation 1 game. As you were battling in this turn-based game, there'd be squares on the screen that would shrink smaller and smaller, and you would have to hit the attack button when the square would match up to the smaller square that was already in the center of the screen. So you're trying to match up the bigger squares that are kind of like shrinking down to match up on top of the smaller square. And if you did it perfectly, you'd get better hits and things like this. And I'm going purely on memory here.
Yeah.
You know, this is just our opening segment. I didn't do a bunch of research on it. Just this game came to mind that I would love them to resurrect it. Very cool combat system, very cool characters, some major twists and plot points that surprise you during the game. Very long and robust game too. And Sony has, from my knowledge, and I follow the gaming industry pretty closely, a little bit less so since we started the show. I'm more focusing on our show and like older games and stuff.
Yeah.
But in my whole life, I've always focused on the gaming industry. And from my knowledge, Sony has never said anything about this game. They've never mentioned bringing it back. They've never mentioned doing a remaster. They have not brought it back to any sort of store to just download it and play it. It's kind of like this forgotten game.
Yeah, that's strange. You'd think with all the retro and nostalgia, uptick, particularly during COVID, that they'd be releasing games like this, or at least talking about them again.
Yeah, in some way. So maybe the game just did really, really bad and it didn't have any sort of following. I don't know, but I love it. I played it on PlayStation 2 about 5 years after it actually released. Maybe even longer than that. And it was still great. And I wanted to give a shout out. I'd love to see them resurrect it, even if it's just a remaster.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah. That's a great answer. My answer is going to be a little bit different. So,
Okay.
You know how they recently brought back the Pac-Man arcade 4-player version?
Yes. I love that game.
Yeah, I love it too. Every single time I go to the arcade, the beercade, the barcade, whichever, that's the one that I want to play, But what I'd love to see them do is take Galaga and make it into a 4-player game.
Fuck yeah. That is great idea.
It could be co-op, it could be versus, but I would like to see a 4-player Galaga. And I'd like them to just bring back doing that, revamping old arcade games like that more often. But yeah, Galaga, definitely want that. That's what I want.
4-player Galaga. I actually really like that answer, Mike.
Yeah, that's from deep in the soul to you and to you, the listener.
From deep below.
Deep.
Cool, man. That was games from the crypt.
Ba-ba.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's one of my favorite ones because we love these games. We have ties to these games, and we can't play any new versions of them, and it makes us sad.
It's tragic, really. It's an absolute goddamn travesty and a tragedy.
Yeah. So, Micah, we have this episode today. The meat and the potatoes of the show is a little bit different than usual because we're not going to go through the game facts. We're not going to go through all the normal stuff we do because we're basically just counting down from 5 to 1 our favorite games of 2020.
Yeah.
And we're going to have some honorable mentions too. Would you like to do those before or after?
The honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Maybe before, so we don't disappoint.
Okay.
Because it'd be different. Ordinarily, we do them after, but let's do it before. Let's tell people the ones that we want to mention that didn't make it into our top 5 list and why.
Yeah. And yeah, okay. I think at the end of the show, maybe before we do PYA, we should just talk about some of the good things that happened in 2020, just to bring a little light to this year.
Yeah, I'm down.
You know, I just thought of that just now. I don't have anything written down, but I think it'll be a fun discussion to have.
I'll come up with some shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just get into it, man. The meats and potatoes, meats and pots, as you like to say.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping you just jumped in there. I did the look in hand.
Oh, I just wasn't sure what that was.
It was totally not well done by me. It
was forming on the inside of my mouth, but when you did that, I thought you were going to say something directed at me rather than looking for me to say, but the meat and pots, as I like to say.
The meat and pots. Now I feel whole again. I felt like a broken man for a
I don't want to leave you hanging, Jono.
Yes. Fully torqued now.
Hell yeah.
I'm sorry, Micah. This show. All right. Our favorite games of 2020. So we each wanted to count down our 5 favorite games of the year, kind of send off 2020 in our own way at Medium Retro. Some stipulations. Has to be the first time we actually beat and played the game.
Yeah.
And it can be old or new games, and that's really it.
Whether they're old, new, or new. That's a line from Scott Pilgrim.
Or a new old.
Hell yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm making nonsense.
I like that, though. That's, Stills should have said that in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Me too. And finally, it's been announced that they're going to bring back the game, so it's official.
We should do that game. I've never played it.
Ah, dude, it's so good.
And I know you love it.
Classic side-scroller beat 'em up with RPG elements. It's great, and I'm looking forward to playing it again. It's 4-player co-op, too. So, hell yeah.
It's a rare franchise that they, mastered the trifecta of great books, great movie, great video game.
Mm-hmm. And the video game is just so perfect. It's so perfect.
Yeah, I would be excited to play that. I'll be honest.
Hell yeah. Well, sweet. You want to launch into our honorable mentions?
Sure. Should we go one at a time, or should I just name? I should probably just name my honorable.
I just have 4 written down, but I can come up with a 5th if we need.
No, I only have 4.
Okay, perfect.
Honorable mentions. We didn't have any stipulations.
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of threw them down what we thought.
Hell yeah.
Games that we wanted to highlight. So I'll just go through mine real quick.
Cool.
All right, so my honorable mentions, I have 3 written down, and then I have one that I would have thought would have been in the running, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so this is, it'll be a strange one. So my first one is Owlboy.
Oh.
Have you played Owlboy?
A little bit. Never beat it, though.
It's a hand-drawn, beautiful game. You are basically Owlboy, and you pick up different players in the game, and they have techniques that you can use to get you through the levels.
They're sort of like your weapons.
Yes, exactly. It's a very cool game. It's a beautiful, beautiful game in its art style. I never actually beat it, though. I just kind of fell out of wanting to play it about 3/4 through the game, which is why it's an honorable mention, not in my tops. But yeah, I just want to give that a shout out. Really, really beautiful game, and I did really enjoy it while it was happening. It's got a lot of heart to it.
Very nice.
Why don't we go back and forth? What's your first honorable mention?
I'm going to say this one actually probably did deserve to make it to the top of the list, but I had a very limited amount of time to play it, and I haven't gone back and finished it, like the DLC to this game. It blew my mind, but when I first tried to start playing it, just seemed like too much, and I didn't keep going. Glad I finally picked it up and beat it this year. It's The Witcher 3. Yeah.
You beat that this year?
I believe it was this year,
Wow, okay.
I know I probably started it at the end of last year, but I finally beat it this year.
No, I believe it. I just didn't realize that it was so fresh in your mind.
It's very fresh. Freshy fresh.
Ooh, fresh.
Yes. Glad I played through it. Really fantastic story. The gameplay just gets better and better. Once you get used to all the crafting and stuff, it's not as obtrusive and annoying as it was at the beginning. Definitely want to finish the DLC. Definitely looking forward to the upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 because of this game. So
yeah,
there we go.
I'm excited. Actually, I've been watching some videos of Cyberpunk, and I laughed because my friend sent me a video of Cyberpunk where there's this Korean Twitch streamer. Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
Korean Twitch streamer was on the streets in Cyberpunk, and he was talking to this man. He selected the wrong thing apparently, because all of the text was in Korean because this was the Korean version. And it cut from him talking to this man on the street to him having sex with the man in like a nightclub. And like this aggressive, they're like making out and there's like pretty aggressive imagery on the screen. And the Korean guy's just like, oh my God. Oh my God. I didn't mean to do this. It's so funny.
Dude, that game...
Anything goes in Cyberpunk. Man.
Yeah, that game has full nudity from what I understand.
Yeah.
You can even customize your genitalia.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a weird game. But I'm going to play it. I'll probably, get into some trouble in that one too. I'd imagine it's going to be a steamy cyber time.
Oh, it'll be steamy.
Intentionally or unintentionally.
Watch this video, dude. It's hilariously steamy.
Wow.
When you click the wrong button and all of a sudden you're having sex with somebody.
Damn. But I've also heard there's also this really great glitch where if you make your character have one of these giant 16-inch robotic ding-dongs, that sometimes there'll be clipping areas where it just like comes through their costume. So just in the cutscenes, it's just hanging out.
All right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
some of the glitches might actually be more fun than not fun.
I'm looking forward to this wild ride that's going to be Cyberpunk
Oh, me too.
2077.
Well, sweet. Would you like to go on the next honorable mention?
Yeah, my next one is Gradius 3.
Mm-hmm.
I know that seems like a strange one because we've played so many games, but I actually really like that game. And I just love shmups. I especially love left to right horizontal shmups.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a really good game. It was better than I expected, and it held up really well, and I really enjoyed it.
Dude, hell yeah.
Yeah. And again, I've played very few modern games this year, so my pool of games to look at is smaller than you'd think in terms of total, like, modern games. They're all retro games.
Yeah, I think I definitely ran into that same thing. A lot of the games that I played this year I'd already played through, so they couldn't make it onto the list.
Same for me, for some
yeah.
of them.
But my next honorable mention, I thought this would have made it to top 5, but I think it's probably 5.5. You know what I mean? It's not even fully at place 6. It almost deserves mention on the list, but that's Chrono Trigger. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Glad I finally beat it. That was an incredible game. Looking back, I'm glad we did an episode on it. And shit, man, I'm gonna play through it again in the near future.
Yeah, that would have been in the honorable mentions. I had already beat it before, though.
Yeah.
I don't remember much of the playthrough in college, but I had beaten it before. But yeah, I mean, I really love that game too. It for sure would have made the honorable mentions. It might have pushed for the top 5.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, there's 3. Even though this game was light on modern games, there's the top 3 games I think are very, very strong in my top 5 in
Hell
my
yeah.
all-time list. So, okay, my next honorable mention is Streets of Rage.
Nice.
I'd never played Streets of Rage until you and I sat down and played through this epic game, and I loved it.
Yeah, I would put that on the list, but I'm pretty sure I've at least come close to beating it several times. I may have beat it at one point too, so that's the only reason I did not put it on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed playing through it again.
You
this
at least
time.
had a lot of experience with it.
Yeah, I knew what I was getting into. Loved that game. It was a lot of fun to play again.
All right, your next game, sir.
My next one would be Doom. Surprisingly, it took me a minute to get into, but once I did, I really enjoyed playing through it. And I'm glad I finally got that classic out of the way. It holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Out of all the games that I played for the first time and beat this year, it's high up there.
I love Doom. I had a great time playing it again. It's
Mhm.
very like you called it wacky, and I think that's the right word for Doom.
Yeah, totally. But I didn't expect it to translate well, considering that it didn't allow you to move on the y-axis, and it was an old school shooter. But damn, dude, I enjoyed it, and I'm actually looking forward to playing through some of the new Doom games because of playing through the original now. So
Yeah, man, I got Doom Eternal, so we should just sit down on our couch one day and play through it.
hell yeah.
Okay, my 4th, and this is like a non-honorable mention, and it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, it is a good game, and I respect it. I was underwhelmed though, and I wanted to bring this up because, and not to shit on the game, because I don't think I am shitting on the game. I think it is a very good game, a very incredible game, and it's Celeste, and I know it's on your list of games to play. I was looking forward to playing this game for a long time. And then I finally played it, and I just was underwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring it up because if you asked me in the beginning of this year of the games that I have played, and I looked at all the games I played, I looked at my PlayStation library, played, and all of our episodes and everything.
Yeah.
And you told me, like, oh, we're gonna throw Celeste, that you played that into that mix of games too. I would have thought for sure it would have made a pretty strong case for the top 5, just on the hype that I felt and on my excitement to play it. And I don't know, it didn't land with me the way I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up, that like, not things don't always work out the way you want them to, and people love this game. It was like game of the year for a lot of different people back when it came out. So I don't know.
Well, I'm still looking forward to playing it. I think, it's one of those indie games that probably gets a lot of buzz for the storyline more than the actual gameplay, but I'm curious to see what it's going to be like. So, but my final honorable mention, one that came out of left field for me, Kirby's Adventure. Yeah, that one's going to stick with me, man. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And I like diving into the old school games. It's fun to see where gameplay originated, you know what I mean? So playing old school NES games is always good because it's educational in as much as it is like a fun time, you know?
For sure. So now, Micah, before we get into our top 5 games, and Kirby's Adventure, fantastic.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, how many games from the show have made your top 5?
Now, I tried to be reasonable and not fill it with games from the show, but that being said, 2 definite titles made it from the show into my top 5.
2 also made it into my top 5 from the show.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee we have one that's the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about this game so much. We haven't even told each other yet, but we just know.
Yeah.
We just know. The other one, I'm actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And you said you thought you knew it. You thought I'd have it too.
Yeah, but then upon further reflection, I have no clue.
So yes, I'm actually curious what yours are, because I have 2 as well, and I'm sure you're curious what mine is.
Yeah, totally.
Well, we're just warming up the audience out there, getting them real excited, man. So I think we should dive in. Let's start. We'll start with the number 5.
Cool.
Now, how do we do this?
I don't know. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? I guess we'll just say the title, when it was released, why we care about it. We care about it.
I'd like you to go first, Micah. Yeah, and then just dig through. I wrote down a bunch of thoughts for each game, so you can go through whatever you want on yours, and I'll have questions. I think that's what we should do.
Cool, solid. So sitting at number 5 for me, one of my favorite games this year that I played. It came out last year, 2019, super late last year though. Pokemon Sword. I didn't think this would make the list because I pretty much all but dropped it until recently. All of my siblings got it, so we've all been playing it nonstop together.
You love Pokemon,
man. It goes so far back with me. It has such a hardcore nostalgic value. I still have my Pokemon from 2003 transferred all the way up to the modern games. So, that's 17 years of my dudes just still hanging out.
Yeah.
The thing is, in all honesty, there are way better games out there, but this has been one of those things where I've just so thoroughly enjoyed playing with my siblings. It's just gotten to be a thing for me this year. So, yeah, Pokemon Sword, set in number 5. Maybe doesn't deserve this spot, but it gets it, goddammit.
So, what is Pokemon Sword?
So, okay. The last couple Pokemon games have been set in different regions. They always switch it up. So, the original region was sort of like Japanese, and then Johto and Kanto and all that stuff was all sort of Japanese, too. The last couple games, they've been sort of introducing areas that have their real-world counterparts. Pokemon Black was set into what could be construed as New York City. Pokemon X and Y were sort of like French-inspired. And then Pokemon Sun and Moon were set sort of like Hawaii-esque, islands, Hawaii-themed. The most recent one, though, is set in sort of like a British-style town. It's got sort of like a weird, retro futuristic. They're castles and also like super cool new things, but it also has like a weird like old school steampunk vibe to it too, a little bit. There's a lot of like signs of the Industrial Revolution everywhere, giant gears and elevators that are just giant gears that take you around. It's all very like stylized to be very British. All the towns sound very British. The characters say things that are very British, annoyingly so at sometimes. But that being said, the storyline was okay. The gameplay was pretty fun. They did a good job with the 3D models. They introduced some weird mechanics I'm not super into. But that being said, being able to play with people across the internet, having, sort of like you can do these team battles where all of you fight sort of like a boss Pokemon together. It's pretty fun. Me and my siblings have been diving into this stuff lately. But, just to pass the time for the nostalgic value, for the fact that you can do more things together than you've ever been able to do in a game like this before, it makes the list.
And is this with the original 150 or is this the new ones as well? Because I don't know one thing about the new Pokemon.
This has like all 900 of them at this point. However many there actually are.
There's so many.
There's got to be at least 800 at this point.
And they're all in one game?
Well, the original release did not actually have all of them, and some of them are still non-transferable to the new game. But over time, as they're releasing expansions, they're adding back all the old ones. So
yeah,
they've got almost all of them at this point.
That is wild.
It is wild. It's fun, though.
Okay.
Like I said, having the shit from 2003 on this new game is fun.
Pokemon Sword.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good number 5.
Indeed.
We're counting down here. Are you ready for my first of our 5 here?
Yes.
First of my 5. Number 5. 2016's own. Developed by Ghost Town Games. Published by Team 17. Founders Philip Duncan and Ollie Devine's creation, Overcooked.
Hell yeah.
I had never played Overcooked until 2020.
I always say this, and it's very true. It's all the stress of a restaurant without the pay.
It's not a glowing recommendation at all.
Oh, but it's a great time. I love that game.
So Overcooked. If you've never played Overcooked, it is a game where you are a chef in a kitchen, right? You're working, or maybe not a chef. You could be anybody who works in a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
1 to 4 players. Beautiful couch co-op. I wish it had online functionality, but I don't think it does.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you'll get an order. And one of the first levels, I think, are like hamburgers. And there's all kinds of things. You're cooking pizza. You're cooking hamburgers, burritos. You're making sushi in the second game. You're frying chicken and frying fish and fries. There's a chopping station. You have to prepare the meats, prepare the vegetables. There's like a boil station. There's a fry station. There's a pan station where you're grilling things on the pan. Once you cook everything, you then have to put it on a plate, combine it all together, and then you have to run the food. Some levels also make you wash your dishes. So there's a lot of things going on in a game of Overcooked.
Yep.
And the orders, just like a real restaurant, never stop.
And they always come in modified.
They always come in modified. And there's just some beautiful things about this game. So I already mentioned the different stations. When you have multiple people playing, it's really the most fun. I've never played 4-person, but I've played it exclusively with 2 people or 3 people. And like somebody might be manning the pizza oven and chopping the vegetables. Somebody might be manning the fish and potato fryers so that things don't burn. Because if things light on fire, you have to get the fire extinguisher and cool everything down, and then you've lost a bunch of food. It'll hurt your score.
It will.
It really will. It's just really great. The levels get more and more complex as you go through the game, where the stages themselves are dynamic, and chopping stations and grill stations will like lift off the ground and switch places. Or there'll be a thunderstorm and like the lights will go out and then everything's in a different place. Or you're on rafts and the rafts are floating by each other and you're chucking food across the rafts to your friends so they can cut while you grill. And like it's just like absolute madness.
My favorite and least favorite level in the first one was the one where there's it's normal steaming kitchen, but then rats start coming out of holes and they'll steal all your food. Prepared, unprepared, it doesn't matter. They'll just fuck you.
Yeah, and the rats, you have to like punch them or whatever and get your food back.
It's difficult. Someone has to stay on rat duty on that one.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the great thing of this game. People kind of get assigned to positions.
Yeah.
If you've ever worked in the restaurant industry, which I've never worked in the kitchen, but I've worked at Vine Street for 2 years, and those chaotic nights are the most fun nights. And kind of like this game, the most chaotic levels where you need somebody who's kind of the... what's it called when you're on the server side, but you're working with the kitchen, calling out the orders and like me?
Food runner, expo.
Expo.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of need an expo in this game calling out what needs to be cooked in what order and what we need.
Yeah, dude, someone has to be the head of the team,
Has to.
Yeah, and it gets to be tricky. It really gets to be super tricky later on, and you have to work like a fucking perfect crew, or else you're fucked.
Yeah, if you want to get the 3 stars, you really have to work in sync. And somebody's just like, I need burger, and you're like, people are like, yeah, none of us have ever gotten mad at each other, but we've gotten like, come on, dude, you were supposed to do this. Like, what are you doing? It's just absolute chaos. So much fun. And I think if you've worked in a kitchen, maybe it makes you appreciate it more. But
yeah.
Anyway, Mike, have you played this game in any length?
Yeah, I beat the first one, but that's just about it. The second one looks really fun. But yeah, I played 4-player on the first one through the whole thing, and it was a lot of fun. I think maybe we had one level left, or I think we beat the main thing, and there was a downloadable content. I can't remember, but in any event, it gets very hard.
Yeah, and I started playing the second one with a few friends. Your enemy is the unbred. They're undead bread.
Wow.
The unbred.
Unbred. I think in the first one,
That's
you're
hilarious.
fighting a giant tomato or something like that. Your enemy is like some kind of world-ending monster.
Yes, and he has like an insatiable hunger, and you're on top of a building. Just the last level's crazy because it combines everything you've ever created throughout the game in one level that's constantly rotating with different phases. And the characters are funny too because King Onion, he's like the main good guy, and he has a dog named Bark, or at least he does in the second one.
Yeah.
And then you play as like little animals or people, like different characters who are actually the chefs. It's very silly, fun, and
Yeah.
cute. I don't know.
The unlockables are great in that game.
Yeah. They
Hell
really
yeah.
are. So that was my number 5. That's a game I will play forever, though. It's so much fun. I want them to make a third one.
I really want to play the second one pretty hardcore, so fuck yeah. Well, sweet. Okay, my number 4. You can probably guess what this is, knowing me and what I've spent time on this year. This was developed by Nintendo EPD, published by Nintendo. Director was Aya Kaigoku, who actually manages the EPD and has been in charge of the Wii Sports, Platoon, and the Animal Crossing franchise. I'm talking Animal Crossing New Horizons. If any game has described this year, as far as like how people have been making it through this year, this is probably one of the big ones. If you've never played an Animal Crossing game before, this is all about such pressing tasks as catching fish, collecting bugs. The horrible task of collecting fruit from your fruit trees. It's just a game of subtle joys, one could say. But yeah, there really is no point to Animal Crossing. You're just sort of doing whatever you want. You collect money, you spend that money on resources, furniture, other things. You decorate your house. You have little friends who live in the neighborhood too. You buddy up with people and have a good time. And you can play multiplayer and have a grand time showing off your turnip collection.
I knew this was going to be on your list.
Yeah.
We haven't even really talked about it that much, but
Yep.
I just knew you loved Animal Crossing.
Dude, I liked Animal Crossing since the old school DS days. New Leaf, I think was the title of the DS one. That was the one I played through more than any other game on the DS. I played it more than I think any game the year that I got it. And this game, Animal Crossing New Horizons, well, I haven't played it as much lately. Before the holidays, I was hardcore and involved in this. Me and my siblings all play together online. I play with some of my friends too. Stu, his wife Whitney, and her sister have been playing this game hardcore. So I'd play it with them sometimes too, yeah. So fun times. It's just a good, subtle game of just relaxing, kicking back, and, putting that little paper tiger up on your fucking mantle.
I've never had that experience. I've never had that feeling, Micah.
Yeah. Well, you can borrow my Switch. You can get some Animal Crossing.
Since we started the show, we've been talking about swapping consoles, but we will do it.
I know, but it's hard, man. Because I know you keep getting games that you want to play on your PlayStation. I keep getting games I want to play on my Switch.
But at any point, I could just give it to you, and I'd be fine with the Switch games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. It'd be hard for me to take my claws out of some of the titles, particularly Pokemon right now, because I've been so hardcore into that with my siblings. But it'd probably be good for me to take some, break.
One of these days.
One of these days.
Now, with Animal Crossing, did you play it primarily solo, or is this I don't know about it? Is it primarily a multiplayer game, or is it a mix of both?
So the thing is,
you can do both. But.
Everything you can do multiplayer, you can do single player. When you play multiplayer, people just come to your island, but then you can just do the same things you'd be doing on your own island, collecting fish, catching bugs. You might throw in some help with some of their chores like weeding, but ultimately there's not really anything that you can't do single player that you can do multiplayer, I guess.
Yeah.
It's more just about hanging out and having a good time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these days I'll dip my toes in. I don't know.
It's worth a little dip.
I think in one of our Shame Game opening segments, I think I said Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've just missed the boat on it already.
Well, damn, dude, there's always time. You know, I got into Animal Crossing late this year because I didn't get until like I want to say May. So, you know, it came out in I think it was March 20th. March 20th, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good time for
perfect time
for
to drop a
COVID.
game like this.
Yeah.
You know, this game came out the same day as the newest Doom title, which was funny because there are all these mashup Animal Crossing Doom images that were being shared around. So, yeah, good times.
What was the name of the Animal Crossing character you drafted for your Nintendo character draft?
KK Slider.
Is he in this one?
He is in this one. He does make a reappearance.
He plays the guitar, I believe.
He's a famous musician, and if you get your island to be cool enough, he'll come and play a show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you never see him until your island's cool enough.
Yeah, he doesn't come until it's cool. But then when he comes, he'll play songs and he'll be like, oh, hey, just so you know, like, here's a bootleg copy of my song. Like, you know, freedom to the people or whatever. He'll give you, like, copies of his music you can play. It's pretty cool.
KK Slider.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
That makes me like him.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Micah, it's my turn, I guess, for my number 4. And by the way, I think I know the other game that you chose from our show.
You probably do, because I talked about it a good bit.
I don't know, though. I'm not positive I know. I think I might know. Anyway, I bring that up because Game 4 is the first of my 2 games from Medium Retro that has made my top 5 games of 2020. Kirby's Adventure.
Oh, that was on my honorable mention.
Yeah, and I wanted to say something when you brought up in your honorable mentions. Just like, oh, well, I like that choice.
Yeah.
I was just impressed more than I thought I would be by Kirby's Adventure. And the more I kept playing it, the more I was like, wow, this really is a good game.
Totally.
So this was episode 26 of Medium Retro. It exceeded expectations. It was my very first Kirby game that I've ever played. I'd only ever really known Kirby through games like Smash Bros.
Yeah.
The graphics were incredible. It's a late-gen game, and they really took advantage of the Nintendo Entertainment System. They really understood how to get the most out of that console, because it looks better. I think it's the best Nintendo NES game that I've seen. Absolutely incredible. The 3D designs, like on the Butter Castle, that have the spinning effect. They just did a lot of amazing things that I kept being surprised while playing the game.
Yeah.
By the visuals and some of the mechanics that would come up, such as the mini games. There's a whole bunch of mini games that they have. Super Mario Bros. 3 had a bunch of mini games, but these ones are better. They're funnier. They're quirkier.
They're definitely they have more character for sure.
They have more character. You have like the Western Standoff. You have the claw game, like the arcade game where you're picking things up. They're just fun. They're cute and they're fun to play.
Totally.
The gameplay, very unique, and obviously we've done a whole episode on this, so I would strongly recommend you listen to the episode on Kirby's Adventure, episode 26. We really dive into everything. This is obviously a very condensed overview of the game. But it's great. You have never-ending flight. That's a rare thing in video games. You have the ability to gain and lose all sorts of powers very often, and there's fun trying to seek out the best powers, or if you find an enemy that has a good one, it's fun to go after them. Controls very well, very precise controlling for a platformer. The story was fantastic. I was honestly shocked that such a seemingly simple game had such a crazy twist at the end.
Yeah.
Also extremely challenging. The second half of this game is very hard, especially the boss battles at the end. Very, very hard. And part of why I love this game in general is just how surprised I was at all of the elements of the game. I mean, graphics, better than I expected. The mini games, did not expect those. The story, very, very cool. Didn't expect the story twist at the end. Because really the story wasn't a big factor at all. And then just the overall fun. It's just a great thing. 27 years old. Loved it.
Yeah, still blows me away. I'd actually only ever plugged it in and played it for like half a minute one time and still didn't know what to expect. So, yeah, I think that thoroughly deserves that place on your list.
I mean, it's close to your list too, so I guess we don't need to go into much more depth. We've talked about it on a whole episode, mentioned it twice here, but Kirby's Adventure.
Kissy kissy, Kirby's Adventure.
Smooches.
Well, sweet. My number 3 is actually my last title on the list that was made since Y2K. It's came out this year. It's a Star Wars game. Talking about Star Wars Squadrons. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself playing this. And actually, I should say, This is mostly just a multiplayer game. Speaking of which, honorable mention should say Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone. Had a lot of fun with that this year. Haven't played it for like months and months and months, but when I played it, it was a lot of fun. But this is like competitive multiplayer, 5-on-5, Rebels versus Imperials, TIE Fighters versus X-Wings, or Y-Wings, or A-Wings, or now B-Wings. They keep you on your toes. People are really good at this game. It's a lot of fun. It's competitive. It's fast-paced. Published by EA. Director was Ian S. Fraser, which I don't think they've done much other than this that I know of. It was released for the PC, PS4, Xbox One, October 2nd of this year. So it's still a relatively new game. But it was developed by Motive Studios, which is a subsidiary of EA, published by EA. Really honest, I can't say enough good things about this. If you like Star Wars as a kid, if you sort of like always fantasized about flying an X-Wing customized to your liking to destroy your friends or your enemies, it's worth playing.
Have you played it in VR?
No, and I really want to.
Pretty sure my buddy Devin has it.
Yeah, a lot of people play this in VR because that's kind of its main draw. But that being said, the console release is keeping me occupied plenty enough. So, but I think the VR aspect of this game seems super cool. It's also cross-play between all platforms, so I'm fighting people in VR, and it does give you a subtle edge.
If you're in VR? I would think that would still be harder because you're so much more immersed in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
true.
so much more going on, but maybe that helps you. I don't know.
Well, this is the thing. The game it plays more like a space flight sim. It's first person. You're only looking in from the cockpit. There's no third person perspective. So your ability to look around in VR, I think, actually does help you. My little brother, he plays in VR, and he literally finds it much easier to dodge things like lasers. Half the time, he'll be doing a direct run on a Star Destroyer, and he'll just be like dodging the lasers like super easy because he can see it in VR properly. So
interesting.
Yeah. But that being said, there's multiple modes of combat. There's just like your dogfight, standard dogfight, but then there's also sort of like a 5-on-5, what do you call it? Like capital ships battle. And you'll have little smaller gunships and stuff pop up, and it's just a mess, and it's the best kind of mess.
Yeah. And now, is there like a single player story mode too?
There is, and I have not actually beaten it yet, but it's pretty good so far. It brings back some beloved Star Wars characters.
So you're playing more multiplayer.
Yeah, I've mostly just played multiplayer. This game is definitely multiplayer focused, but it does have a pretty good single player campaign. That being said, I've only gotten about like 75% of the way through it, so that's gonna be one of those ones I finish in the near future for sure.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I'm more interested about the single player than I am the multiplayer.
Yeah, well, the multiplayer is competitive, and that's why it gets fun. It's really hard at first because you're just gonna die a million times, but eventually you start to figure it out, and then it gets really cool.
I'm ashamed to say that I've fallen back into a bit of a Rocket League hole.
That's what I figured you were about to say.
I can't help it, and I can't have more than one competitive game in my life.
Understandable.
Yeah, that's a good answer though. I am very keen to play that game because I loved Rogue Squadron for the GameCube.
Yeah,
I loved that game. I thought it was incredible. But that's a third-person perspective ship battle game.
It's more like arcadey.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought this one was too. I haven't watched a single video. I don't know anything about Rogue Squadrons other than what you've told me.
Yeah.
And just in my mind, I always thought it was a third person.
Well, yeah, Squadrons is definitely more like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, those old school PC games, which I don't know if you've ever played them, but I used to play them back in the day. So
yeah,
it's much more like that. It's more space flight simulator. So it's more difficult to control, but once you figure it out, it's really fun. There's a lot you can do.
I gotta say, I am a bit surprised by your list so far.
Yeah.
I'm a bit surprised because I know there's 2 medium retro games still to go. And they're the top 2, which I'm surprised by. One of them I'm not. The one I'm not surprised by, I guess, because it would be in my... If it is the one, I don't know what it is yet. And then 2, another thing that's surprising to me, I know some other games that you've played this year, and they weren't in your honorable mentions, and they're not in this.
Well, okay, I want to come back to that question because they might be in my top list.
Okay, all right. We'll curb that. After we wrap up everything, we'll bring out the questions.
It's quite possible that in preparation for this episode, I just didn't think about them. But so for these games that I've mentioned in the honorable list, and also in my top 3 or 3 out of 5 so far, have been ones that have just really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Ones that I played a lot. Ones that I can't put down.
Well, see, I'm not surprised because you ever raved about. There's one game in particular. It's more just like I would have thought, given the pedigree of the game. And maybe you know what I'm talking about, maybe you don't. We'll talk about it afterward, though.
Cool.
So, game 3 for me. And this was by far for me, the hardest one to pick. In terms of not just the game, but the number 3 position. Because number 2 and number 3 were just very hard for me to decide on.
Yeah.
And I was going back and forth between this many times. And this could change day to day. But ultimately, this is what I've chosen. Game 3, the only game from 2020, developed by Naughty Dog, published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, directed by Neil Druckmann, composer, because the music is fantastic, Gustavo Santaolalla, writers Neil Druckmann and Hallie Gross, came out on the PlayStation 4, released June 19th, 2020. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The Last of Us Part 2.
Yes.
Okay. We have to do an episode on this. We've mentioned it on the show before. We have to do an episode. This was a very hard choice between this and the game on my second spot where I would put things. But they swap places day to day, like I said. But man, I don't really even know how to start with this game because it took me 32, 33 hours to beat.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
It's a very long game. The original game, Last of Us, is one of my favorite games of all time. And if we ever do our top 10, not the top 10, not in our top 10, but our actual top 10, you might see a little Last of Us sighting in there. Mm-hmm. Incredible characters in this game. The world building is incredible. The story is extremely powerful. The second game, in some ways, is for sure far superior than the original. I'll give it that. But I will say the heart of the game is not quite there like it was with the original. Like the reason I love the original is the story that is told, right? And I feel like I just felt more vested in the first game, ultimately. Yeah. That being said, The Last of Us Part 2 is incredible, and I feel like as time goes on, I might actually like it more. And I don't want that to sound like I don't like it. I love this game. It's my third favorite game of the year. It's an absolutely incredibly well done game. Sorry, I'm struggling to figure out how to describe this because it's such a dense game, and there's so much that I can't say because we haven't done an episode on it where we can spoil things. So anyway, I have a ton of notes. Let me just drill through these. The production is insane. It's at the summit of a AAA developed game. The performances are great. The music is amazing. There are moments that will leave you absolutely stunned in this game, like shocked. Not a lot of games can do that. Not a lot of games can elicit the emotions that this game does. Some major twists and turns throughout the game. Those twists alone could be a long discussion. Now, it is also a controversial game for many reasons, not just because of what that leak showed before the game actually released. There's just a lot in the game that a lot of people have been unhappy about. I don't understand a lot of it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a controversial game for a lot of the reasons other people do. I think there's only one thing to me that's controversial, and that's just the story that they decided to tell.
Yeah.
So the gameplay is honestly, though, much, much better than the original version. The crafting is better. The resource management is so much fun. The worlds, like there's open world sections which never existed in this franchise before. And then some of just like the environmental puzzles, even though they're easy to solve, they're very, very cool and unexpected. And the atmosphere, there are several moments in this game that I could barely play because I was so anxious. I'm telling you, like high anxiety, so much fear to do anything because I knew something bad would happen at some point and I didn't want to make that bad thing happen. Almost too much at points.
Damn.
So yeah, I mean, I could go on forever for this game. There's so much to talk about because it really is a masterful game. In many ways, I think it's honestly astonishing. I think I sent you a text when I beat the game. I was like, I am astounded by this game.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. That also made me really want to play it too, because
Mm-hmm.
I know how much you struggled with like the dark aspect of the storyline, and how much this game was like anxiety inducing and like insane, and to have you ultimately say this is one of the top greatest games of this year.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I got to play it now.
It's too long. That's what I kept saying because it's hard for my heart to handle this game. But I really do. The first game is almost a third of the time. I think I beat the first one in 12 hours. I beat this one in 32 and change.
Damn.
That's a lot of extra. That's 20 hours longer. And I really do think it's too long.
Yeah. I hear you there.
Yeah. All right, so Micah, that's our top 3 each. I feel like it's time for a little happy hour.
Indeed, I would agree. It is quite an hour to be happy.
It is quite an hour to be happy, and I would like to go first because it kind of ties into The Last of Us Part 2.
Do you think?
So this is a silly happy hour. It's cynicism. That's my happy hour. I know happy hour is usually where we talk about things we're consuming, things we're enjoying, questions, if we have any listener questions. Cynicism applies to things that I consume sometimes. So when I was researching this show, I didn't know what I was going to do for my happy hour, and I was looking things up on Last of Us 2, and it won the Game Awards for the best game of the year very recently, like within the last week. And I didn't even look up anything on the award. I just wanted to look up a couple facts about the game, like the developer and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, I knew who it was. I knew Naughty Dog developed it. Release date, stuff like that, composer and everything. The very first article that comes up is Last of Us 2 wins Game of the Year, whether or not it deserved it. And, like immediately I was just like, God, you can't look up anything these days in the world without immediately being bombarded with some sort of negativity. If you play this game, yes, it's controversial for some reasons, but if you play this game, there is no doubt that there was an immense amount of love and effort and time and artistic masterfulness put into this game.
Yeah.
And the internet is just, at a point in time, we have to stop. We just have to stop reading all these cynical articles.
Yeah.
I know I can be way too cynical in the world sometimes with, politics and just lots of things, right? It's too easy to do that these days. And it was just so funny that when I opened up what was supposed to be a happy thing reading about Last of Us 2, immediately, and there was 5 of the top 10 articles were all doesn't deserve it. Can't believe they let this shit game win. And it's just oh my God. The internet, why are you so angry?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to say cynicism because 2021 is coming up soon. And if you're listening to this in 2023 or whenever you're listening to it, in general, I want to be less cynical and I want to consume less cynical things in my life. Cynicism, basically means to have a cynical disposition. Cynical can mean distrustful. That's probably the main reason, but can also just mean to be bitter or pessimistic. And I feel like cynicism has gotten more and more prevalent in our society over the last 5 years. And I feel like year by year it has.
Yeah.
And I just, I really want personally 2021 to be a less cynical year in my eyes, looking out through my eyes.
I'd agree. I'm looking forward to a less cynical year, 2021, hopefully. I think it's easy to get bogged down with all the bad news, 2020 has been a difficult year for a lot of people. And so I think it has caused a lot of people to feel more cynical about the world, about the state of things, about their own life. But, there's also been things that are causing, I feel like, me to be less cynical, so hopefully people do find a little bit more of a brighter side in 2021. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I'm hoping for, 2020 was not the greatest year ever, like I said at the top of the show.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? But it's fun to joke about. But it was a rough year. It was a challenging year in many ways. I just want to think about my outlook more in 2021. I want to make sure that I'm not letting myself go down those rabbit holes of, I don't know, negativity.
Yeah.
Good year ahead.
Understandable. Agreed. Hell yeah. Well, I gotta say, for the most part, this has been a pretty, I don't know, relaxed week. I haven't really been doing much. Coming down from school, still this last week, I said this last episode, but also this episode was recorded within the same time frame. Haven't really been doing much, for the most part. I've just been zoning out hardcore, and a lot of social media, a lot of catching up with people. But I think last week I had a really good chance, and actually I would say last week, what I mean this week, had a really good chance to actually catch up with some of the Vine Street people. Did a little game night impromptu, randomly hopped on and like a bunch of people were on there. That was nice. We played some Jackbox games, caught up. I hadn't seen some of those people in a hot minute, and I keep accidentally blowing certain people off too. So, I'm trying to be less sketchy, but school and work and everything else just got in the way so much of being actually getting in touch and hanging out with people. So just being able to socially, electronically hang out with people again has been really good. So I'll put that down as my answer.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I miss a lot of the Vine Street people.
I know we need to get another game night soon.
I know.
Get everyone on there.
Well, Radical Man, if you have your questions, thoughts, manifestos, as we like to say, send them our way. We'll read them on the show.
Hell yeah.
One of these days, we'll get some of these questions rolling in. But, we have our small following out there right now, and they like to listen. They don't like to participate.
Yeah. You send us some horrible, bloody manifestos, and we'll read them on the air. It'll be great.
I mean, if there's no blood on your manifesto, we're not going to read it, though.
No, there has to be at least fake blood. Or else it didn't happen. It's not happening. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, put some ketchup on there. Come on.
Come on.
Make it look real. All right, Mike, I believe you're up with your runner-up of Game of the Year.
Ooh. So this, was featured on the podcast. Was previously featured on a list of games I felt really guilty about having not played. It's a classic, released in 1992 in North America, 91 in Japan. Produced by Miyamoto himself. Composed by Koji Kondo. Was released on the SNES. Developed by Nintendo EAD. We're talking Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yeah.
Finally played it this year. So glad I did. Loved it. Would go back in a heartbeat to finish it, or to play it again. Finish it back up. Looking forward to, touching back on this topic, touching back on this title over the years. It's been a fun one. It's probably been one of the biggest highlights of this whole entire run for me.
I'm so glad you played this game. It's one of my very favorites.
I still can't believe it took me so long.
It's going to be in my top 10. It'll be in my top 5, really.
Yeah.
And things have changed over the last year or two. I don't know how the top 5 is going to shake out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at many points in my life, it's been number 1. But yeah, what did you love about this game, man? Because I figured this was going to be on your list. I didn't know it was going to be number 2, though, which makes me happy.
Item collecting, the cool characters that have made their way back into modern Zelda games, the enemies, the play style, how fluid the game felt, even though it wasn't a 16-bit console back then. Yeah, it just had everything you want out of a Zelda game, but 2D. And I'd been meaning to play it for years, but I've also sort of written off 2D Zelda titles overall. Glad I didn't entirely, This makes me want to go back and play all of them that I missed. The original 2, the follow-up to this on the Game Boy. Hell yeah.
We played the Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Was that at all in the running for your honorable mentions, even?
No, I mean, I loved those games. They were a lot of fun, but I don't think they quite got up to honorable mention. They were way better than I expected, but I think having already digested The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, they fell a little short in comparison, which is fine. They were great titles, but and how do you compare to such a awesome mainstream title like Link to the Past? But yeah, I mean, as much as I really did like them, they're a little bit further down the honorable mention list.
I gotta be honest, same for me, and that surprises me.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought, if you asked me at the beginning of the year, you're going to play a brand new Zelda game that you've wanted to play for 20 years now. Maybe not. Yeah, I guess almost 20 years. I think they came out in 2001.
Yeah.
I would have been like, yeah, for sure they're going to make my top 5. I mean, come on, that's a Zelda game. And I got to be honest, I just enjoyed my time with Gradius. We sat down and played that in 2 hours, and I just really love that game, and I want to play it again. Zelda Oracle, loved my time with it. I guess I can't say I loved it because it's not my top. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'll never play it again. And it was a great time, but yeah, it's kind of wild.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, but anyway, I still liked it. I still liked both those games. And I think, I might go back to the opposite one that I didn't play eventually, but I've got way too many titles to play before then.
Where does Link to the Past fall in your Zelda rankings?
I still think I like most of the 3D titles more because that was my initial playthrough. I think I'd put this above Twilight Princess for sure. I think I don't know. It's hard. Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time. Why can't I think of the other
Wind
one?
Waker,
Wind Waker.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild would be above this one slightly. But yeah,
So Breath of the Wild is not one of your favorite Zeldas.
I liked Breath of the Wild, but it didn't play like a Zelda game. I didn't mind that. And I think it helped to tell a unique and interesting story. But it's not very high up in my favorite Zelda titles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker are definitely higher up. But this beats out Twilight Princess, and it beats out what's the one that came up for the Wii? Skyward
Sword.
Yeah,
That's like one of my least favorite ones.
I played through some of it, but I haven't got into it enough to actually beat it yet. So,
Once we beat every Zelda game, because there's still a few that I haven't beat, we should just have a Zelda show where we each rank every Zelda, every one from worst to best.
We have to play every Zelda game.
Well, we don't have to play every one because we've played a bunch of them already. Well, I'm saying once we have played all of them, because you can't do the show unless you've actually played the game, right?
That's true.
And so I would love to do that because I think our ratings are pretty different.
Yeah, they are. We have different things about Zelda that we like.
Yeah.
I think.
Because I will say, well, what do you think those are?
Well, okay, I think one of the biggest aspects of Zelda for me that I really like is like I don't know. Okay, so some of my favorite Zelda things, and maybe these are your favorite too, but I'm just going to throw them out there. Storyline, the dialogue, the writing, the cutscenes are really important to me, The emotional side of Zelda that really started to come through in, the original Ocarina of Time that has come through in subsequent Zelda titles in ways that you can't get from the 2D aspect. I really like the combat in the 3D Zelda titles. I think that is superior in my mind to the 2D. And I really like unique items and unique costumes that you get to wear. For whatever reason, those are some of the biggest ones to me.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're going to have a lot of overlap on those. For me with Zelda, it's always been more about, like, I love the world of Zelda.
Yeah.
I love being in that. I love the familiarity with the sound effects and the enemies and everything because I grew up at such a young age that I do think Zelda just gets that Nintendo bump or the Zelda bump for being in that franchise because I immediately am drawn to it. But I will say the games just are better than most games building interesting dungeons and puzzles and interesting characters and interesting nooks and crannies to explore because it's not like a loot game. Yeah. You're not like trying to explore every crevice to get things. You're exploring because it's a fun world to be in. It's a fun world to live in. And that's where I think I disagree with you, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, to me, was all of the things I love about Zelda in a completely open sandbox playground.
Yeah.
Infinitely explorable. I don't know. Breath of the Wild, to me, is potentially number one or number two. I mean, it's top two.
I'll say the only reason why it's not number one, number two, number three, high up on that list is because I really did, I got used to it eventually and learned how to play with this style of gameplay. I got really put out with how often your weapons break.
I hate that too.
Yeah. Oh, and it just got to me so bad. Also, I don't mind this in most other games, but I feel like one of the greatest things about Zelda is the tight design when it comes to levels. And some of the open aspects of the game didn't feel very tight. There'd be times in which you felt like you could go somewhere, but there'd be some real, you couldn't get up there for some dumb reason. And half the time it wouldn't be because you didn't have enough energy. It'd be like, as soon as you get up to the precipice of this mountain, before you can get all the way up to the top, it starts raining, and then you slide down the whole thing. So, I wasted hours in that game trying to go places I wasn't supposed to go.
That wasn't on purpose, though. The rain was random.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was random, but in some areas it was not random. Case in point, near the Zoro's domain, there was rain that would keep you. That was the way that it kept you off the mountains and at the beginning of the game. I just felt like the levels, while they did the absolute most they could do with an open world like that, I think having it so open sort of took away something for me.
I've heard that complaint before.
Yeah, and that's
I have.
And I didn't mind it, but that's why it's not going to be on my top.
Yeah. I understand that. We need to play that game because I would actually love to talk about that game in more depth because I have a very strong love of that game. All right. So that was your number 2, I believe, Link to the Past. Turned into just a Zelda discussion, which we could probably talk about for 24 hours straight. Poop
Yeah.
Fest 2021.
Easy.
All right. Are you ready for my number 2? And I believe it's going to be your number 1.
Oh, yeah, I know.
My number 2, Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Hell yeah. That is my number 1. I'll just go ahead and say it because we're going to say exactly the same stuff. So we might as well go ahead and say it together.
Let's just have a discussion together.
Yeah.
So, developed and published by Konami, director Toru Hagihara. He produced it as well. Composer Michiru Yamane. Platform PlayStation 1. Released March 20th, 1977. And I mean, Jesus Christ, Micah. How much have we talked about this fucking game?
So much. And I was almost hesitant to put it on the list. Originally, I put it earlier on the list because I just wanted to get it out of the way because we talked about it so much. But this is my favorite game that we played on the podcast. And it's probably my favorite game that I played this year.
Yes, it is for sure my favorite game we've played on the if we're allowed to include things that we had played before, like Super Mario World, Link to the Past, those are going to make a push, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking the stipulations aside, though, this is, I would say, by far the best game we've played on the podcast that neither of us had played.
Blew my mind.
Blew my mind. We have talked about this. Like, I literally put in here that we've talked about this game so much that we should have a rule in 2021 that every time somebody mentions Symphony of the Night on the show, they have to immediately shotgun the beer. Doesn't matter what beer. Because shotgunning is the worst way to consume a beer.
Some might argue the best, though.
I hate shotgunning beers. They're so hard.
Dude, I used to work at this bar, and literally our bar manager would get back there and we'd all shotgun beers together in the middle of service if it was like a crazy fun night, you know?
Man, we have shotgun bets in my fantasy football league, and I hate it. But if I lose, I'm too old for that shit. But we just talk about this game a lot. And we should still talk about it here because this is our best games of the year, and we should have our final, this is why we love this game.
Yeah.
Leave it in 2020, move on to 2021. So what do you want to say about it?
I just want to say that I did not expect this to be so good. It was incredibly fun. It has all the good aspects of the original Castlevania, just rolled out in a more perfected form. There's a ton of things you can collect, different weapons, different armor, a lot of customizational gameplay aspects. But that being said, some of the greatest things about this game are just like the unique and weird enemies, the bosses, the music, the art, the setting, the different levels you have to go through. And also just like the twist at the end with the whole entire upside down version of the whole entire game. Mm-hmm. It was so engrossing. So I was so thoroughly into this game. I've gone back and played it multiple times since then, just for shits and gigs. Thoroughly recommend it. Can't say enough about it. Didn't like, the classic Metroidvania style until I played this.
Yeah. So
it changed me. It changed me, sir.
It made you feel things in strange places.
Indeed. Also, what a great main character. Alucard, even though it's Dracula backwards, I love him as a character. He's cool.
Very, very cool.
Man.
Yeah. I second everything you said. It took us 23 years to play it.
Indeed.
This game's been out since 1997. I want to say that I really feel like this was the first game in our second run of shows after we did the initial 10. And I really feel like this is the first show that we did a good show.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that the first 10 shows aren't good, but I do mean that the first 10 shows were our learning experience. That's when we were doing everything remote, figuring out what we were doing.
Half the time watching gameplay instead of fully playing the game ourselves.
Yes, exactly. We weren't playing the games. We were kind of doing it by the seat of our pants because we wanted to do something with games. We were always talking about games. We were in quarantine. And I feel like this is the turning point when the show became better. It's just that's when we had like segments, and that's when we had segments before, but that's where we had like a flow.
Yeah.
And we played through the game. We had a really long discussion where we really dug into the meat of the game. So I did want to give it a shout out for that too. I think it helped change the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple highlights I have here, and it really was close between this or Last of Us 2 for the 2 and 3 spots, but it's deserving of number 2. A couple of my favorites. Couple of the bosses, the big brain that looks like, it's not a brain, it's a mass of bodies that bodies are falling off of.
Oh, that was one of my favorites for sure.
Looks like a brain. The dude that's like a decrepit, rotting, hanging man where the bees are flying out of. Beelzebub or whatever his name was. I think you missed that one in your playthrough.
I did miss that one in my playthrough.
One of my favorites. The music, all of it, but a special shout out to the Coliseum. We both love that one. That's kind of like that Miami Vice funky, weird one. I love the exploration. There's so many trinkets and weapons, so I just want to give a shout out to how amazingly deep this game is. And then my favorite level is the library and the Royal Chapel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Royal Chapel is probably my favorite. Although I think the towers, when you go further up, there's like I guess they're like left of the chapel. The chapel's where you start to fight those giant flying swords, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Left of the chapel, up left. I do believe maybe it's right up. But all those like towers that you have to fight the enemies in, with those long hallways too.
Oh yeah.
Once you get that wolf power up, it's game over for those dudes.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Okay. Well, I kind of stole your thunder with the number one game of the year for you.
Nah, man. You knew I was gonna be talking about the game anyway, so bam, there it is.
I knew that it was going to be high on both of our lists because we've talked about it so much. Well, I guess I'll just say my number one. Do you have any idea what it is?
No, I'm actually at a loss for this one.
I think you forget timing because you're going to know exactly what it is.
It's not Persona 5, is it?
Hell yeah, it is.
Oh, hell yeah. I thought that was last year.
Nope. I had a feeling. I before the show, I was like, I wonder if he remembers that I actually beat that game in 2020.
Oh, man.
Because it would be hard to beat Last of Us 2 and Castlevania. Persona 5 is instant top 5 games of all time for me when I beat it. I was depressed when the game was over. I was like, oh my God. So man. I started that game in the fall of 2019, but I didn't actually beat it until February of 2020. So gotcha. I feel like that counts as a 2020 game.
Totally.
I beat it this year.
Totally.
Directed by Atlas, published by Atlas. I think the studio internally is called P Studio at Atlas. Atlas, not Atlas. Director is Katsura Hashino. He was the producer as well. The composer was Shoji Maguro. Came out on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. And there is now PlayStation 4 and playable on PlayStation 5, Persona 5 Royal, which I do have. I haven't beat it yet. I haven't barely played it, but I'm going to. Original release, though, came out on September 15th, 2016. And I guess I'll just give you my spiel real quick, Micah, because this game, I'd always wanted to play a Persona game. I had played the first 10 hours or so of Persona 4 back in college. And for whatever reason, I just never finished the game. I played it in like 2010. Girlfriend, starting a new job, wasn't playing games quite as much at that point. And it was just such a deep game. Never really got into it, which I am excited to play Persona 4 Golden eventually.
Hell yeah.
So I actually started playing the game in 2019, like I said, in the fall, finished it in 2020, February. It just blew me away. I don't know what I really can say. I've talked about this game a shitload on the show as well, so hopefully this is putting that to bed as well. We're starting fresh in 2021. Took me a little while to sink into it, but once I did, I was completely obsessed. The cast of characters are super unique. Each one is very individual. They're very lovable, and you kind of become like one of the members of the crew, The Phantom Thieves, that's the crew you're a part of, and your character, who you kind of play through, doesn't really say a lot of words, so you are him, right? Very interesting themes dealing with evils in society, like people taking advantages of others, taking advantage of the law for their own gain. The ability to change a person is one of the themes, or forcefully creating a change in a person. And you're really just diving in to the collective conscious of society in this game. Hard to describe without playing the game.
Yeah.
But there's literally an area of the game where you're in society's thoughts and conscious, essentially. I don't know if I'm explaining that completely correctly, but it's a very cool game thematically. It's a 100-hour plus journey that you go on. Turn-based, lots of combat. You collect all these personas that are kind of like Pokemon in a way, where they're not at all like Pokemon, but they are in the stance that they're things you collect, and then you can choose to use different persona because it'll change your attacks. Turn-based role-playing game. The gameplay is constantly evolving, though, as you meet more characters in the game and build your relationships with them. The things you learn from them as characters then will help you as a person in the battle system in the game.
Yeah.
So you're learning things. And half the game, though, is building relationships, meeting people, living your daily life as a high school student. It's just so much fun. There's two main things of the game: your normal life and your life as a vigilante, almost, with the gameplay, the combat. It's just absolutely incredible. And I don't know how to summarize this game much more. 10 out of 10. Instant favorite all-time game for me, which is hard to do at this point in time with how many games we've played.
Damn.
Potentially my favorite soundtrack of all time. So many good things. Stylish, amazing, brilliant.
Damn.
Persona 5.
I seriously got to play that one. For real. For real.
For real? Oh, you remembered that.
I remember it.
Ryuji. For real. Yes. If I'm remembering, yours was Mario. It's a me, a Mario.
It's a me. Mario.
And Mario. I think there was a couple other classics in there, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, dude. Games 1 through 5.
Hell yeah. So tell me, what games did you think should have made it onto my list that didn't make it onto my list?
The one that I immediately thought of, once you said at a certain point, I knew you had 2 games left from the show.
Yeah.
When you said Rogue Squadrons, I was like, Demon Souls.
Demon Souls? Oh, Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
The only reason why I have not included that is because I haven't beat it yet. Yeah.
You think it would be?
Maybe. Now, I like that game a lot, but it is too hard. And there are limiting aspects of that game that are limited by the gameplay's ability to... It's fun, but it's limited, you know? And I don't think it makes it onto my top list this year.
Yeah, see, I don't think I would like this game very much. I know people love it.
It hurts. It really hurts. It's more or less bragging rights for me to be able to say I've beat it when I did. And also my brothers love it, so I had to really give it a good shot.
Fair. That was the one that stuck out. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I would have thought that would have made it.
Dark Souls is interesting. It's cool. It's weird. It's also one of those games where when it came out, it sort of revolutionized what it was doing. I think it took video games in a direction that I don't typically like, though. So,
Well, shit, man. That's our games for the year. We have PYA ahead of us, but I think we should just talk a little bit about 2020 as well. Some of the good things, only good things.
Okay, only good things.
Why don't we just go back and forth saying some good things?
All right. Well, let's see. The greatest thing that happened this year. I got back in school. I think that's probably high up there on my list.
Man. That's a big life change.
Yeah, I've been trying to get back into school for a hot minute now. I've been doing research, trying to figure out what the best route was. But in all honesty, I just had the time to just be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it, and I did, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Even if I drop out after next semester, this has been a really good time for me. So, hell yeah.
You're not gonna drop out after next.
No,
semester.
I'm just saying, worst case scenario, if that's literally what happens, it would still have been a very useful and informative time for me.
For sure.
Yeah, also putting just my fucking nose down to the grindstone and getting some shit done, it feels good.
It's good training to remember how to focus, because sometimes I feel like I lost my sense of my ability to focus.
Yeah, and I think relearning how to learn has been the biggest thing for me this year. I've been doing a lot of online learning for the last couple, but this year has definitely taught me more about how I work under pressure and how I can optimize my workload and my ability to consume information and be able to spit it back at you.
Yeah. Cool. I'll throw out the show, Medium Retro.
Yeah.
This has been a fun, unexpected thing. When the year started, I did not think we would be 35 episodes into a podcast. So.
No, same, man. The show is, in all honesty, kind of rescued this year for me, because what else was I going to do with all my fucking time? But also, it's given me a really great time to sit down and talk about the things that I love, the video games I love, but also it's given me a great excuse to finally get through all these great titles. And plus, we just had some really great hang time because of it. So, fuck yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Medium Retro.
Yeah. Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it? All
Hell
right.
yeah. I definitely say the fact that my car is not blown up yet. I drive a 1995 Saturn. And if anybody has ever driven one of those cars, it's not a nice car. But the fact that it's still running very well, better than ever, honestly. And, I've sunk very little money into it. I expected to be carless by now. I paid $400 for that bad boy.
It's like a fine wine, Micah.
I know.
It's getting stronger as
it's
it
just
ages.
getting better with age. She's got plenty of problems, but she's still operating. And that's the good thing.
Yeah. I don't know. 2020, I mean, we both have places to live. We're happy, we're healthy, and you got to take some of those end of year wins.
Yeah, dude.
Life could be so much worse.
It really could.
We live great lives, so I don't know. 2020 year.
Got a roof over my head. I got pizza in my freezer. Got weed if I want it. I have 5 edibles.
Wacky.
Well, I have 5 edibles I haven't touched since quarantine began. So I don't know. I've actually really not been smoking much weed this year. You know, I live in Colorado where it's legal. I'm thoroughly an advocate for people enjoying what they enjoy. It just hasn't really been a focus for me lately. It's weird. You'd think it would be. I've been drinking more than I've been smoking by a lot.
You know, I moved to Colorado 7 years ago. The vote to legalize marijuana was 2 days after I arrived in Denver. I arrived on Sunday. It passed on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And people always just thought I moved. I don't smoke. I rarely smoke weed. I rarely consume weed.
Yeah.
In the 7 years that I've lived here, I rarely do. I have no problem with it. Hey, I think it's way safer than alcohol. I think alcohol is a much bigger evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm kind of the same way, man. I moved to Colorado, and everybody just assumes you smoke a lot of weed.
Yeah.
Not really.
But, you know, I think in that same breath, I should say that this has been a really good year for me, exploring myself, the things I like, the things I don't like, the things I want to leave behind in, you know, the last decade. So 2020 is actually, you know, while there's been a lot of bad things that have happened, a lot of people have lost a lot. You know, it's worth mentioning there's a lot of good things that have happened for me personally too. And, you know, you got to take the wins with the losses, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just hope 2021 is a better year. Let's hope that our governing bodies help people in this country more than they have been. And it's going to be a strong 2021.
Yes, I certainly think so as well.
Yeah. Well, cool, Micah. Are you prepared?
I am indeed prepared, my good sir.
All right. I'm going to start us off
Do
because I
it.
want you to finish us
Hell yeah.
off. All right. Number one, do you think 2020 was a good year for games?
Yeah, I actually think it was a really great year for games, or a great year for games, because a lot of really good ones came out. You know, a lot of games became central to a lot of people's ability to deal with the stresses and boredom that 2020 brought with the quarantine. I think overall, a lot of more people have been getting involved in gaming. A lot of people who never really gave a shit now are like, I get it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for video games as a whole, it's been a great year, not only for the releases that have come out this year, but also for, you know, the fact that everyone has kind of rallied around video games as something to do together when you can't be physically together.
Yeah. I think that's a great answer. And I mean, honestly, I don't know how good of a year this was for like new games because I barely played any.
Yeah.
Though I really want to play Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like there's a lot of good games that released that I just wasn't able to play. But yeah, I would agree. I would say it's a strong year. Mostly because of this show. I just played a lot of games I would not have thought I would have played this year, and games that I just don't think I ever would have played if not for the show. So yeah, I'd say it's personally a very strong year for gaming.
Hell yeah. Well, sweet. My first question for you, sir. What's a game you look forward to playing before the year is up? With what little time you have left?
That is a good question. Now, Mike, we have a big game that's going to be a two-parter coming up on the show. Should I say it? Because that's the one I'm looking forward to most.
Go ahead and say it, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be playing and podcasting The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
One of my all-time favorite games. Very stoked about it. So that's one I'm definitely looking forward to playing as well. Are there any that you haven't played that you plan to play before this year is up?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, Ghost of Tsushima is a game I really want to play, but that's not on my soon to play. Actually, Doom Eternal, I did recently get that. I do plan on playing some of that before the end of the year. Will I beat it? Who knows if I'll ever beat it, but I will jump into that game.
I feel you. So there are a couple that I have planned right now. I'm really actually looking to finally play Final Fantasy VII before the year is up. I'm going to try to play through that over the holidays.
Original or remake?
I think I'm going to play through the original because the remake is not out for the Xbox. So
what? Yeah, it is.
It didn't used to be. Maybe it is now.
I'm pretty sure it released on the Xbox. The remake, yeah. I'm almost positive.
I gotta look this up real quick.
You might get a little too excited. I don't know if you're gonna be able to finish the show now, Micah.
I don't know if it is.
Whoa. I'll actually be flabbergasted. I thought it was released for everything.
You know, it looks like the original, the one that I have on my Switch, is on there, but I don't think the remake is.
I mean, maybe you're right, dude. I'm actually kind of mind blown by that. If that's only PlayStation 4.
Yeah, because the original thought was that it was going to release on Xbox. I'm kind of surprised if it hasn't already released. But yeah, as far as I know, it's not on Xbox yet.
Well then, man, you gotta borrow my PlayStation. So
Probably.
it's only like a quarter of the actual original game,
Yeah.
apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Well, I kind of want to play it in its original format and then go back and play the remake because this has been on my list since it came out originally on the PlayStation way back in the day. I don't know why I never played it though. It's just one of those ones that just slipped through the cracks. But I definitely think that one I'm trying to play through before the end of the year if I have time. I'm gonna finally play through Mario 64. That's gonna be a big one. I'm actually gonna be able to complete that, and quite possibly, it probably wouldn't be able to be done with all these other ones. But I'm also looking to play through Ni no Kuni.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So those are the ones I'm looking forward to.
For sure. Cool, man. For my next question, were you surprised by the games that you actually played this year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think obviously Symphony of the Night really surprised me. Didn't think I'd actually care for Metroidvanias, but fucking got into it. Didn't really think I'd want to play through a Kirby game. Glad I did though. And some of the other random ones like Shinobi, all these other games that we played through, some of them haven't necessarily been the best, but it's been educational playing them.
Yeah.
So, and Punch Out, definitely glad I finally played through that.
Yeah. I was surprised both from how much I liked some of these older games, and then also I was honestly shocked at how few modern games I played this year.
Yeah, seriously, same.
Yeah, looking through my PlayStation played games list, it's like, holy shit, man, I've done nothing. I've played all old games. That's all I've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been mostly the same thing for me, but it's actually been pretty good because I think this is a really good year to look back because in the next couple of years, I think I'm going to be able to have a good chance to look forward and playing some really good classic modern titles too.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, sweet. What's the worst game you've played this year? Shinobi for me as well.
Sorry, Shaboobies, but that's the way it is.
Well, just to reiterate, we played the NES version, which is generally considered to be the worst version. There is a Master System version and an arcade version that are supposed to be far superior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably the worst game. It was fun to play it, and I'm glad I did.
I enjoyed it, but it was not good.
No, not at all. Well, sweet. That's my question. What's yours, sir?
Okay. Now, this is a two-parter because I didn't know what your list was before and you didn't know what mine was.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any games on my list that you want to make sure you play? Like 100% games on my list that you want to make sure to play. And then I want to answer it for you as well.
Persona 5, for sure. And Last of Us 2, for sure. Yeah. Those are the two that come to mind.
The only one that for sure I want to play is Squadrons.
Yeah.
I really want to play it in VR.
It's
like
really fun.
Really, really want to play. How can there be a better VR experience than being inside of an X-Wing?
I can't imagine one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, seriously.
I am intrigued by Animal Crossing. I just can't say 100% I must play it.
Yeah.
I am very intrigued by that game, though.
I gotta say, as a kid, for Squadrons, I always wanted to fly a Y-Wing. That was my favorite ship in Star Wars. And now I can fly my own customized Y-Wing with my own paint job, decked out the way that I want with my weapons. They still suck at dogfighting, though, but it's still fun. Yeah.
That is cool, though.
It's so cool. It's so much fun.
Hell yeah.
Well, sweet. Next up for me. What do you anticipate being on next year's list? Top 5 games.
And these are games that we haven't played before.
Mm-hmm.
Micah, that's a good question.
It's a hard one to answer.
Yes. Now let me do a little research here. Let me do a little snooping. Now, the first game that came to mind is Catherine Full Body, and I've beaten Catherine, but there's a lot of additions. I don't think it counts.
Yeah.
Because I've played it before. But there is like a whole new character in the game. So that doesn't count. Top 5 games next year, Ghost of Tsushima. I really think I'm going to love that game.
Yeah.
Really, really want to play that game. Let me look at our ongoing schedule here of games that we plan on playing, but we don't know for sure if we will. I think I will definitely say, where was it? Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island.
Mm-hmm.
Always wanted to play that game. In these games, we have no order of when we're going to play all of them. This is just this massive list of games we talk about. Link's Awakening. I've never played the first one, and we want to play the remodel, the HD one. So if we play that, I have a feeling that'll be on there. And now I'm trying to think of newer games. I think Death Stranding will be on it. I haven't started that game yet, but I think that'll be on there too.
I hear that one. I hear mixed reviews about Death Stranding, but I definitely want to play through it myself.
I think I'm gonna love it.
I'll tell you, Super Mario World 2 might be. I played through most of the game before, so I don't know how much that counts. Um, I will definitely say that I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk, but I'm waiting until they get some more patches to give it a go through.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be on my list. But also, I'm finally going to sit down and start playing through the Bioshock series here in a little bit. And I think those will end up on my list.
Let's do an episode on if you really want to play that. We didn't talk about that earlier. Let's put it on there, dude.
Let's do it.
Fuck yeah, I'll play all 3 of them. We can do 3 episodes on those.
Nice.
Yeah, the first game's amazing.
Well, hell yeah. I'm super stoked to finally play through those. I think I told you, I got those forever ago. I got the first one for my PC, which was too old at the time to play it. So, round 2 fight.
Okay, well, fans, we just decided to add a game to the show.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
What about Super Mario 64? You think that'll be on there?
I think I'm going to finish it before the year's over, though.
Mm.
I'll probably play through that one first on my next list of games I need to play.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't on this show, I think you can include it on next year's.
Cool. Well, then that'll probably be on
there. Because there's that, 2-3 week gap where we record this.
But I gotta say, I'm also going to play through Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 in addition, So it might end up on there.
Yeah.
Higher than Mario 64. I don't know. We'll see.
Personally, I like Super Mario 64 more than Galaxy.
Yeah.
I would say most people who have that nostalgic feel to it like that too, but I would say most people actually prefer Galaxy as a better game.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, I'm curious to see what you say.
Hell yeah.
Cool, man. Let's see. I believe we have a couple questions each left. What are, my number 4 question, what are some of your hopes and goals for our show in 2021?
2021. Just to continue to play some really good classic retro titles. I hope that we can find another game that I like as much as Symphony of the Night. I really want a chance to play through some classics I've been neglecting over the years, like we did in this first run. Yeah, that's my only hope is that we can continue to do that. And maybe get a couple more people listening. We'll see. If they don't listen, that's A-okay with me. I'm just doing this for my own fun mostly anyway, but also, it'd be nice to start to make some content that people want. I'm not that we're not making content that people want. I just don't think that as many people, we haven't found our whole audience yet. Yeah. I want to find those people.
We're not finding the audience because one, we don't do any marketing. we need to be on Reddit more. We need to be a little bit more aggressive on YouTube. We need to do Twitch. I think we need video.
Yeah, we do.
Video is what will bring people more to the show. Mm-hmm. But my answer is very similar. I want to play a lot of great games. I want to definitely increase some of our listeners. I think that in terms of show metrics, I think that's something I would love to see is if we get more listeners per show. But yeah, I don't know. Get Twitch going. How many fucking times are we going to talk about Twitch without doing it?
I'm going to get a new computer this year, upcoming year. We'll get it working.
We'll figure it out. I mean,
we'll get a fucking green screen, we'll be great.
If by our top games of 2021 show happens and we're not twitching, send us extra angry manifestos, okay?
Hell yeah.
All right.
Well, sweet. What's a game that you didn't get a chance to play that came out this year that you regret?
I think I already mentioned it. Ghost of Tsushima, I really want to play. I love Japanese culture. I love samurai. That game is all of those things. Amazing open world. Apparently, it's got some cool design mechanics with, the map. A fox will lead you to where you need to go, so it's all on screen, and you're not pausing and having to look things up all the time. You can hit a button, and a fox will just run across the screen and show you which direction you should run. Also, there's a really cool multiplayer mechanic that came out, a totally separate new part of the game that didn't exist, and it was completely free. That has actually been very successful, and people have been loving it.
Wow. So
I think that's really cool, too. So Ghost of Tsushima is my answer.
Hell yeah. I think for me, it's actually 3 in particular that I really regret not hitting up this year. Actually, no, fuck that. 4. So, obviously, the new Doom title. Really wanted to play it. Never got a chance to. That's okay. I'll play it next year. No worries. But I kind of wish I'd already had a chance to play it. Maybe I'll hit it up over the holidays. Who knows? Also, the Avengers game that came out this year, while it initially received a little bit of mixed reviews, most people that I actually really appreciate and trust their opinions said that it was a good game and worth playing. So I regret not hitting that up yet. I'll probably get to that eventually. I wanted to wait till it was not $60 to play it. It's expensive. The new Spider-Man game. Still haven't played the first one, so I regret the new one. Missing out on that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lots of games.
There have been so many games this year that have come out that I've been wanting to dip my toes in, but I'll get my chance.
Some of the games we want to play next year for the show, like the Metal Gear games and stuff. It's just some meaty games, man.
Yeah, I think Metal Gear is going to make it onto my top 5 for sure.
Metal Gear, I'm excited. We got to do all 3 of them.
Hell yeah.
20 episodes apart or 10 episodes apart, but we got to do those ones. All right. My last question. Any bold predictions for the year 2020? Not show related, just 2020 predictions. And if you're listening from the future out there, you can enjoy how right or how wrong we are.
2020 is going to be the year that...
Or 2021. I keep saying 2020. Yes. That was my fault. I said 2020 predictions. Any 2021 predictions? There we go.
2021 is going to be the year that I make my first $1 million.
Okay.
Made that up. But I'm going to win the lottery or something stupid like that.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. It's in the numbers. And then also 2021 is going to be the year that I meet my clone. He's out there somewhere. We're going to finally meet.
These are bold predictions.
We might have to fight it out, but if he's been raised by the right people, we might be cool. We'll see.
Shadow Micah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dark Micah?
Yeah, Dark Micah. He's out there. He's out there, dude. I know it. I feel it. I sense him.
Jeez. And any other 2021 predictions?
No. This will probably be the first year that I actually get into proper university, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only prediction, that I'm going to get into a university, finally. You know, because previously I was only ever in, like, college. You know, I dropped out when I got most of 2 years done at a community college. So this will be the year that I actually properly get into a university. And then, you know, a couple years down the road, I can say stick it to all my siblings because I have a degree too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to do it, man. You're crushing it. You just crushed this first semester.
All A's.
All A's, baby. 4.0.
Literally, my math class, though, I'm not even going to lie, I had a 90.03.
Woo.
Yeah, but I slid through, man. My math teacher liked me, though, so if it had been really close, he probably would have bumped it up a little bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
Some of my 2020 bold predictions. We will hit 1,000 listens on a single episode.
Oh, yeah.
Which is big compared to where we are right now. And, once you hit 1,000, I feel like it's easier than to hit 10,000. Because we want that tattoo. That's 2022. Mm-hmm. 2022 as tattoo.
2022. Get that tattoo.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
And as we established, it does not have to be on our asses.
No, it can be wherever.
Mine might be, but, yours does not have to be. So that's one. PS5 will have a redesign because that thing is ugly. I don't really think it will, but that's my bold prediction. There will be a more powerful Nintendo Switch released, and Bitcoin will hit $100,000 per coin. These are my bold predictions for 2021.
Isn't Bitcoin like crashing right now?
Well, it went up to almost 20,000, not quite, and then it started going down a little bit, but now it's going back up again.
I'm not even gonna lie, and I still get really mad about this. I almost bought Bitcoin when it was affordable.
Yeah, I remember listening to a podcast in college when it was like 5 cents, and I thought to myself, I should buy some of that, and I did not buy any.
Damn. Well, I think it was like worth like maybe like $70 when I thought about getting in, like per Bitcoin. I was like, that's a lot, and it's probably gonna crash. This is just a fad. Look at me now.
Mm-hmm.
I could be sitting pretty on slightly more money than I have.
Yeah, well, Bitcoin's about $18,500 right now per coin. So,
well, damn, when it was still pennies, we should have gotten in.
Yeah, you don't know though.
You know, we probably would have sold out when it was worth 300, and now we would have been kicking ourselves even more.
Now, let me ask you a question. Our most recent episode before this one was Braid,
mm-hmm.
and we talked about if you could reverse time. That was one of your PYA questions.
Yes.
If it was a good thing or not. And this is an example that you could go back in time and buy Bitcoin. But what we didn't discuss on that show is if you go back in time, do you then have to relive all of those years?
Yep.
So every time you go back in time, you have to relive all of those years.
Yes. You start back from that exact same time place.
Mm.
But that would honestly be good. There's a lot of shit that I did in college that I'd love to undo in college,
Yeah.
Everyone has those experiences.
You know what? We didn't talk about this. I know that we're at the end of the show here, but I think you have one more question. But I didn't think about this. If you went back in time, say we're 33 right now. You're 32, I believe.
Yeah.
Soon to be 33. in
Soon to
January,
be old
right?
as a fart. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what are you saying? I'm old as a fart because I'm
Yes,
33.
I am, sir.
My farts are old. I am 33. You're 32. Let's say we wanted to go back to 2010 buy Bitcoin, and we go back to 2010, and we have to relive everything. I didn't think about this when we were talking about in the last episode that you just might not meet those people in your life before. Now, do we have all of the same experience too?
Oh yeah, you have all of your memories, all of
Yeah.
your experiences. And in all honesty, like if I could just go back to being a kid now with everything I know now, I'd do it, man. I'd rewind all the way back to being fucking 4 years old and live it all properly.
I probably would too. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
I probably would too. But I would never work at the jobs I worked at. Ever. You would never have those friendships.
Yeah.
Because it's like if you have all this knowledge, you're gonna be a billionaire by the time you're fucking 10 years old. If you
Yeah.
go back to when you're 4. You know what I mean? Dad, put money in Amazon. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a crazy thing. Because then think of all the things you would. Do you think you would have like a major sense of loss? Is what I'm trying to get at.
Possibly. It just depends on how perfect your childhood and young adult life were, you know? Like how much did you achieve exactly what you wanted to achieve in high school and in college? You know, the young years when you're trying to do things and be a new person, like how much did you fully realize that, you know? Some people do, and for some people, rewinding would be a terrible idea. But for me, you know, all things considered, I learned a lot about myself after the years when I could have fully explored myself. So, you know, I'd go back and do it again. Just for the chance to be able to be a little bit more of a shithead for a little bit longer, if nothing else.
Yeah, well, I mean, for sure, if you had the time to reverse time, once you hit like 60, you'd go back 10 years, every 10 years.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? But the thing that freaks me out, though, is like if you went back in time and you knew everything about all your friends that you had made in your lifetime, it would be hard to build those same relationships because they wouldn't know that about you, but you would know everything about them. I don't know. I feel like you might destroy all of the most meaningful relationships you've created.
It's quite possible.
It freaks me out. Anyway, that was a tangent. Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Buy Bitcoin if it ever hits 70 cents. And Micah, I think you have one more question for us.
Final question for you. Of the year, all in all, what game do you think you spent the most time on this year? I think it's Persona 5, if I were to guess.
It's Rocket League.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because I played a lot of Persona 5, but I actually started it in October, maybe September. I played that over like a 4-month period. It's a 120 hour, 115 hour game. Rocket League is just ceaseless and life consuming and always present.
Yeah, I feel you.
It's Rocket League, dude. There's no doubt. I go through these Rocket League holes and then I come out of them and my eyes are red and bloodshot. And I can't remember people's names. And when I look at work emails, all I see are balls flying around.
Dude,
soccer balls, not
that's
not,
a lot.
Not sex.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were talking about testicles.
Well, I do have this orange, wrinkly, testicle-looking pumpkin sitting on my desk. It looks like a saggy nutsack.
It looks like a saggy nutsack, and there's some growths on there, man. He's got to go see a dermatologist about that.
He's been having fun with the wrong crowd with that thing on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, pumpkins.
Well, sweet. I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm not entirely sure. So Warzone's pretty high up there. I've spent hours and hours and hours playing Warzone, particularly like early quarantine. A lot of my friends from Nashville were super into playing, so I played with them quite a lot. And then also there's a group of people here in Denver who I started playing with as well. Not least of which Stu. You know, me and Stu played a lot of Warzone together. But that being said, I think maybe I've spent equal parts on Animal Crossing, and I'm coming up to close to that on Pokemon at this point, playing with my siblings. So, yeah.
My God.
I know. Spent a lot of time on those three. I mean, Squadrons, not quite as high, though. I've been enjoying that game, but I've been playing more with my siblings over the internet between Animal Crossing and Pokemon, so.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Dude, 2021 is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
We've wrapped up the 2020 year.
Hopefully no evil aliens show up, you know? No major meteors come crashing down. And hopefully the 6th extinction event continues to roll out slowly enough that it goes mostly unnoticed.
The 6th extinction event?
Currently we're in it.
Which one is that?
Human caused. We're currently causing the worst, quickest extinction event in history.
Let's slow that bad boy down.
Let's slow down to a stop.
We need to hit 10,000. We need to have our medium retro tattoos before the world implodes.
Yeah.
Right?
The thing is, though, at the end of the day, if you have a bottleneck of species, they'll diversify again. It will just be millions of years until we have diversification to the point where we have fun things to look at, you know? So hopefully, they got the seed vault. Let's get the embryo animal vault. We'll make it through this. We'll fix climate change in 100 years, and we'll pop them all back out into a newly formed habitat. That's my bold prediction for the next 200 years.
200-year prediction. All right.
Yeah, I'm just making that up, but, we'll see.
Oof.
Woof.
I think you just scared everybody at the end of the show.
Don't use straws. You're ruining the environment. The straw's a scapegoat, though. Let's be real. There are 20 companies that produce, I do believe, like 75% of emissions. It's something crazy like that. I need to look up that statistic without just blabbing statistics. But a large percentage of the environmental pollution is made by just 20 companies.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. So, fuck yeah.
Jesus. Okay, on a more uplifting note, we love you guys. We thank everybody for listening to our first year of shows. I guess we're not a full year in yet, but we're closing out the year, and we appreciate everybody listening in. We have exciting things happening in the new year. I know we talk about Twitch and Reddit. Eventually, we will get some of this stuff going. We're busy people, and this is a little side gig, so we're doing our best over here.
We'll get to hustling.
We'll get to hustling. So, yeah, thanks for listening in. This has been such a fun, wild ride so far, and we look forward to 2021.
Hell yeah, smooches, high fives, all around. You guys, the ones who are listening, you make it fun. Thanks for listening. Cheers, guys.
Farewell.
Hey, cool people. We just wanted to say a quick thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing with this podcast, spread the word.
And if you'd like to support future episodes, we've launched a Patreon. Head over to mediumretro.com or search for us on patreon.com to become a fan of our show. Your support is much appreciated.
Also, follow us on Twitter and Twitch at Medium Retro and at Instagram at Medium Retro Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.